Another day of disruption on the railways, and there is worse to come. The latest strike has brought some stations to a standstill, leaving scores of trains cancelled and travel plans in chaos.
I'm trying to go to Hexham to see the Hadrian's Wall today, so I don't know if I'm going to make it now or not. I've been waiting 35 years to do it, so.
Well, several high-profile events, including the FA Cup final, Epsom Derby, and big music gigs could also be affected. Also tonight, some breaking news. A major incident is declared on Bournemouth Beach. Emergency services are at the scene, and we will have the latest. Boris Johnson insists he's handed over all his COVID diaries and WhatsApps. The pressure's now on the Cabinet Office to release them to the inquiry. ITV appoints a barrister to carry out an external review into Philip Schofield's affair with a young colleague. And a new captain for England's Euro-winning Lionesses. A whole new look for Serena Wiegman's squad as they prepare to take on the world.
Still think we're really good and we have very talented players. And we're just going to make sure that we're going to be at our best, and then we see how far we get. But I think we're still in a pretty good place.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. Fresh strikes have once again brought many of Britain's railways to a halt, with warnings of major disruption throughout the coming days. Less than half the country's trains were running today. Some lines had no service at all, and passengers heading for sports fixtures and concerts this weekend are very likely to be affected. Union bosses deny deliberately targeting key events, but they claim the government's latest pay offer was destined to fail. Our reporter Amy Welsh now on the row that refuses to run out of steam.
Industrial action is planned to take place on...
Another day, another deserted train station. This is the 30th rail strike, and while picket lines have become pretty normal, they're still catching people out.
There's only transport running to Wales today for every hour.
We thought there was a train going to London, but there's nothing, so cancelled our holiday for children.
I've had to rebook another set of tickets to come from a different station to come to here because we're coming to see Coldplay.
Unions say the government has deliberately offered them a deal which was destined to fail.
We don't want to be here. This is a Westminster problem. We don't have problems in Scotland or Wales or in freight or open access or in TfL or elsewhere. We have a problem with Westminster.
But the government insists its pay offer is fair and reasonable.
They've been offered 4% and another 4% in the next year. The average train driver is earning about £60,000 a year. 20% of train drivers earn over £70,000. It's important that we have pay settlements that are realistic.
Normally 30 trains an hour leave Manchester Piccadilly, but today there are only 3 trains an hour. And with 15 train operating companies taking part in today's strike action, commuters have pretty much given up hope of getting from A to B on time.
Today's strike by the drivers' union ASLEF is the first of 3 walkouts this week and has affected an estimated 60% of rail services. On Friday, members of the RMT union will walk out, affecting around half of services. Another ASLEF strike will take place on Saturday, affecting the Epsom Derby, the England versus Ireland Test match at Lords, as well as several concerts by stars including Elton John and Beyoncé, and the all-Manchester FA Cup final at Wembley. And whether you're a red or a blue, the travel frustrations are the same.
It could be really disappointing because there's going to be so many people who would really want to go to what could well be a once-in-a-lifetime game, you know, given that over 100 years of history of both clubs, never played them in a cup final, and that's really sad to see.
Unions insist they are not deliberately targeting major events, but for members of the public, the misery continues.
Well, the situation is only going to get worse here in Manchester, which is bracing itself for the busiest day of the year on Saturday. On the one hand, thousands of Manchester City and United fans will be trying to leave the city to get to Wembley. On the other hand, thousands of people will be trying to get into Manchester for concerts from Elton John, Coldplay and the Arctic Monkeys. Now, the Transport for Going to Manchester tell me that around 300,000 people will be attending those gigs between now and Sunday, and are asking people to use park and ride services because of concerns over congestion on the area's roads. Better still, if you don't need to travel, then stay at home.
OK, Amy Welsh in Manchester, thank you. Now, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tonight put officials on a collision course with the COVID inquiry. He insists he has handed over his unredacted WhatsApp messages and notebooks to the Cabinet Office, and he's now called on them urgently to pass the material on. Well, our political correspondent Libby Vina is here. So the ball, very much, it would seem, in the court of the Cabinet Office now.
Yes, the psychodrama that seems to be bedevilling the modern-day Conservative Party has taken another extraordinary twist. For days now, the Cabinet Office has been saying it can't hand over Boris Johnson's WhatsApp messages and diaries because it doesn't have them. And also, it's been saying it wants to be able to redact them, that is, edit bits out. But Boris Johnson himself has now raised the stakes dramatically by handing over all these documents and the WhatsApp messages, he says, unredacted to the Cabinet Office. You might ask why he didn't hand them over directly to the inquiry if he's so keen to have them published unredacted. But he says that he wants them to be handed over as they are so that the COVID inquiry can look at what was going on in government as the pandemic unfolded. Now, this does put the Cabinet Office in a very awkward position. The chair of the inquiry, Baroness Hallett, has made it clear that she was very unhappy with earlier submissions where there was considerable redaction, where certain elements were left out. She says she wants to see these documents in full, the WhatsApp messages in full. And the question is, if Boris Johnson is happy to see them published, then why is the Cabinet Office or the current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, so concerned about keeping some of those elements private? And I think the suspicion will be there now already that it's Rishi Sunak himself that is concerned about how he will look when these come to light.
Fascinating, Libby Vina, thank you. Now, there are concerns tonight over plans to relax rules for childcare providers in England. The government wants more people to consider their jobs in early years education as it expands its free childcare provision. But critics are worried it could drive down standards. Our social affairs correspondent Stacey Foster reports.
OK, right, preschool. Are we all ready to have story time with Lucy?
Nurseries are getting nervous about plans to change staffing to deliver the government's plan to expand free childcare.
A tiger!
It wants to relax the rules on early years staffing to help deal with the increased demand, so childcare workers won't have to have a GCSE in maths to work in a nursery.
Mathematics in early years, especially for like younger children, it's all about like your shape sorters, your jigsaws. So do you need a maths GCSE in order to be able to support a toddler or a baby in that skill? No, I don't think you do.
But there are safety concerns about plans to change the child-to-carer ratios. Already the government's gone ahead with plans to increase the number of 2-year-olds one person can look after. But this nursery say they won't put that extra pressure on staff.
So if you had 10 2-year-olds, that's 2 members of staff. But as I think anybody knows, not just the early years workforce, that 2 to 3-year-olds are a really challenging age.
So you're just not going to do it?
No.
But educating young minds doesn't come cheap. From September 2025, working parents of children under the age of 5 will be entitled to 30 hours free childcare per week. And there are concerns that to deliver that may mean a drop in standards.
We are early years educators, we're not just babysitters, it's not even childcare, it is early education, and we know from 0 to 5 is the most crucial time for a child. So we should be seen as more professional in our industry, and I think that would attract more people. I think keeping the qualifications, upping the standard of early years education would actually attract more people into the profession.
The government says this is not about watering down the profession, and it will listen to providers during the consultation. But the Early Years Alliance, which represents the industry, is concerned that the government's promise of free childcare will be at the cost of quality. Stacey Foster, ITV News.
Now, new laws have come into force allowing longer lorries onto Britain's roads. Vehicles measuring up to 18.5 metres have been given the green light. Now, it's claimed the move could help to cut overall emissions, but there are some safety fears from other road users. Our correspondent Ben Chapman reports.
It's the government's big idea to reduce the number of lorry journeys. Just make them a bit longer. The trailer carrying the straw is 2 metres longer than the normal one next to it. Bigger loads, fewer trips, good for the economy and the environment, say ministers.
Are you as enthusiastic about them as they are?
I think that's a dream.
The boss of this haulage firm has been trialling longer lorries for the last few years.
Moving huge amounts of product from A to B along a motorway network, they work very well for that. If you've got shop in-town deliveries, they are just no good at all.
That's despite the government saying they will help keep supermarket shelves well stocked.
The government claims that by allowing hauliers to carry 2 metres worth of extra things, as many as 1 in 12 lorry journeys could be taken off the road, boosting productivity and cutting carbon emissions. But lorry drivers say it's not that simple.
That's because the longer length requires them to swing out further when taking tight turns. Critics say it creates more blind spots, threatening pedestrians and cyclists.
With this junction now, I have to go a lot more deeper so I don't cut it, but now I have to come back on myself.
So you've got to swing right out
to keep my trailer as much on my side of the road as possible.
Do you think they're safe?
Not really, no. You have to have a lot of experience.
James Moore knows the dangers all too well. He was left trapped under a lorry's wheels after it turned into him while he was cycling. He says the new, longer lorries horrify him.
I'd like the policy to be reversed until such time as these things can be made properly safe and the blind spot eliminated. I'm not even sure I'd like them on the rolls even after that. I'd like the policy to be reversed before someone gets killed.
The government insists longer lorries are safe after 11 years of testing. But with doubts among hauliers about how practical they are, they may not be the simple solution the government intended. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Cambridgeshire.
Now, in the last hour, it's emerged that ITV has commissioned an external review following Philip Schofield's departure from This Morning. He quit the broadcaster on Friday after admitting that he'd lied about an affair with a much younger colleague. Well, now, top barrister has been asked to establish the facts. Geraint Vincent is here. OK, this all happened in the last hour or so. What's going on? What do we know?
Well, the chief executive of ITV, Carolyn McCall, has sent a letter to the Culture Secretary and to the head of Ofcom, the broadcasting regulator, in which she says there's been a lot of inaccurate reporting of the circumstances surrounding the departure of Philip Schofield. And she, as this letter goes on, attempts to clear that up with a presentation of some facts. She said that when rumours of a relationship between Schofield and an ITV employee began to circulate in 2019, ITV investigated. Both parties denied it. Then she says, given the ongoing rumours, we continued to ask questions of both parties and they continued to deny those rumours as recently as last month. The employee involved, says Dame Carolyn, has made clear that he doesn't want to be identified in connection with this matter, but he has been offered support throughout. That employee was 19 years old, says the letter, when he did work experience on This Morning in 2015. At 20 years old, he succeeded in getting a job as a runner on the programme. He then applied for and got a promotion to a job on Loose Women, another ITV daytime show, in 2019, and he left ITV completely in 2021. Now, Dame Carolyn, as you said at the start, has appointed this barrister, Jane Mulcahy, KC, to conduct an external review to establish all of the facts and to see whether and what relevant processes and policies need to change. And this letter sent in advance of an appearance next week by ITV executives in front of the DCMS committee where they're going to answer questions from MPs on the Philip Schofield affair.
OK, interesting. Geraint Vincent, thank you. Still to come on the ITV Evening News tonight, the changing faces of England's Lionesses as the squad for the upcoming World Cup is unveiled. And the newest 70s comeback, the iconic chopper, will return to the streets, but will it be able to rally the same buzz of days gone by? But before all that, let's return to our main story tonight, the train strikes that are causing disruption across the country and affecting several big events. And our reporter Hannah Bechley is at the Coventry Arena, where the Arctic Monkeys are performing tonight. And Hannah, there's been a warning from the venue about travel to this evening's concert, hasn't there?
There has. Lots of the people that I spoke to this evening ahead of going in to the arena told me that they had planned to come to Coventry tonight by train. The train station's only a few minutes walk away, but of course they had to make other plans. Now, for one group, that was a 90-mile taxi journey here from Doncaster. So with other plans, there becomes more people coming in cars, and there are concerns that there's going to be traffic congestion at the end of the night. There's always congestion, isn't there, at the end of any big event. But last week here, after Harry Styles, some people described traffic chaos and said that they were stranded here until the early hours. Coupled with the fact that today there are train strikes, and you can see why people are worried. Having said that, I can hear that the support act is already underway here. 35,000 people are due here, and there have been a steady stream of people going in. The people that I was speaking to said that they are incredibly excited for the night ahead, even if they don't know quite what the end of the night will have in store for them.
OK, Hannah Bechley in Coventry, thank you. Now, some developing news tonight. A beach in Bournemouth has been cleared as police, air ambulance and Coast Guard rescue crews respond to what we're told is a major incident there. Officials say they were called soon after 4:30 this afternoon, and Chloe Keedy is with me now. And this is still developing tonight, isn't it? What do you know so far?
Yeah, very much so. We're still getting the details through on this, Mary. What we do know is that the ambulance service were called to Bournemouth Beach just after 4 o'clock this afternoon to what they call a sea incident. It very quickly turned into a major incident, as you say, with not just 6 ambulances, 2 air ambulances, but also police and fire services and the Coast Guard in attendance as well. It's been a warm, sunny day today. The beach would have been busy with families enjoying their half-term holidays. We understand the beach was cleared. There are reports that lifeguards were searching the sea on jet skis, and videos appeared to show someone being given CPR on the beach. Now, the ambulance service has confirmed just in the past few minutes that 2 people were taken to hospital. We understand also just in the past few minutes that the beach has now been reopened. What isn't clear yet is what happened to cause it to close in the first place.
OK, no doubt more facts will emerge later. Chloe, for the moment, thank you. Well, a quick look to other news now. The Confederation of British Industry has promised members they can fire any directors on its board ahead of a confidence vote next week. The lobbying group is also searching for a new president. An independent review of the CBI was triggered by allegations of sexual harassment at the group. Paul O'Grady could be posthumously awarded the Freedom of Wirral. It's emerged that councillors there are set to vote on the decision next week. The late entertainer was born in Birkenhead and died at the age of 67 in March. And London Irish must pay all of its staff for May or risk being withdrawn from the Gallagher Premiership. The Rugby Football Union has given the owner a chance to meet payroll or the offer of a deadline extension to complete a takeover that can't go ahead. Now, football. And England boss Serena Wiegman today named a squad for this year's World Cup. Beth Mead has been left out, one of several players omitted through injury. But Millie Bright, still recovering from knee injury herself, has been confirmed as captain. With the Lionesses low down, here's our sports editor, Steve Scott.
Like many managers before her, fate has conspired against Sarina Wiegman and England ahead of the World Cup, mainly through serious injury. The Lionesses boss has lost the spine of her Euros winning team, just at the wrong time.
You're talking a little bit in transition now, so with some changes in the team, but I still think we're really good and we have very talented players. And we're just going to make sure that we're going to be at our best, and then we see how far we get.
From the side that started the Euros final last year, there are some key players missing. Ellen White has retired. Captain Leah Williamson is sidelined after an ACL injury. Likewise, the Lionesses' top scorer in the tournament, Beth Mead. The influential Fran Kirby also has a knee injury and is unavailable. Millie Bright has been named as captain but hasn't played since March. Lucy Bronze is included too but has been out for a month after knee surgery.
Sarina Wiegman's aware we're going into the tournament with not the best team, best squad, but what they need to have is togetherness, and we still have the quality to go to Australia and New Zealand to do something really big, as the Lionesses did in England last summer.
It's Leah Williamson to bring it home.
Under Wiegman, the Lionesses have been serial winners, losing only once since she joined nearly 3 years ago. So what will her message be to a squad sprinkled with new faces?
Behave like normal, do your best, get connected with fans and perform at your highest level, and hopefully that will bring us very far in the tournament, because as you know we all have a dream too, going to the World Cup.
This is the very last question. The very last.
Led by Wiegman, the Lionesses have already catapulted the women's game to a new level. The impact of a World Cup win later this summer would match that and some. Steve Scott, ITV News.
And staying with sport, in tennis, Britain's Cameron Norrie has won his second round match at the French Open. And finally, to a 70s comeback that's got enthusiasts in a spin. The makers of the Chopper Mark II have announced the return of the iconic bike, but the relaunched model will cost almost £1,000 and is only available on limited release. Our reporter Martha Fairley now on Raleigh's retro revival.
First gear is that one, second gear is in the middle, third gear is there.
With its frame-mounted gear shift, banana-shaped seat and distinctive handlebars, the Raleigh Chopper was a bike like no other. It was the one every cool kid wanted to ride in the 1970s, including Martin. His first chopper was yellow. Now he spends most of his time restoring choppers at his Bromley bike shop for customers who want to relive their youth.
It's just so far ahead of its time, you know, like sort of like a boy's motorbike, really, the way it was. You've got your gears shifted down there. You know, it's just iconic. They made the seats shorter to try and stop people doing backies. Obviously, like the Mark I seat was a lot longer, and obviously they put that in to not designed to carry passengers, but everybody did, so no one listened to that.
And you can go a long way on the Chopper.
Despite its reputation for being an unstable ride, the Chopper's iconic appeal has endured through the decades. Favoured by singer Lily Allen, who cycled round London on one in an early music video.
God, oh my God.
And most recently featuring in the hit series Stranger Things. Now Raleigh have recycled the Chopper, with a limited edition Mark IV going on sale next month.
Clearly it's not as mainstream as what it was back in the 70s when we did, you know, 1.5 million bikes, but actually what we see now is it's a collectible item.
Second-generation Chopper fan Jake has collected over 100, but he hopes the new bikes won't just be snapped up by collectors.
What I'd love to see is a load of younger people buying them and kind of living their childhood like my dad lived his childhood, riding around the streets on a chopper with another kid on a chopper, doing little tricks and stunts and having fun.
But with a price tag of nearly £1,000, the revived Raleigh Chopper is most definitely aimed at the big kids. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
And that is all for now. The national weather forecast is up next, and Tom's here, of course, with news at 10. But from all the evening team, for the moment, bye-bye.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east, especially around tea time. Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello there, good evening to you. We've got a bit of an east-west split in our weather as we head through the next couple of days. The best of the sunshine, the warmest temperatures too will be across western parts, always that bit cooler and cloudier further east. Now, if we take a look at the bigger picture, high pressure very much dominating our weather through the rest of the week and into the weekend as well, you'll be pleased to hear, keeping our weather settled. But in contrast, further south, the southern parts of Europe here, we've got some heavy showers and some thundery downpours as well. But in contrast tonight for us, it's looking fairly quiet, a dry night ahead. Low cloud, though, feeding in off the North Sea, clearer skies further west. We'll see some pockets of mist and fog forming come dawn. Temperatures tonight not particularly chilly. So heading into tomorrow, some early mist and fog first thing and quite a dull start away from the far west, but that cloud will continue to break up as we head through the morning. It'll start to retreat back towards the coast. More in the way of sunshine, I think, for us tomorrow, and that's going to lift our temperatures. We're looking at highs tomorrow afternoon in the sunshine of around 21 to 23 degrees Celsius, but along the North Sea coast with an onshore breeze, it will feel cooler and fresher, 14 to 16 degrees Celsius here. Very similar story for Friday. It is looking dry, fine, plenty of sunshine. Hopefully that cloud again breaking up through the day. But again, that contrast in those temperatures, cooler and fresher along the North Sea come further west. It's warm, 20, 21 degrees Celsius. And here's the outlook as we head through into the weekend. Dry and settled, spells of sunshine and lovely warm temperatures as well. Bye-bye for now.
Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.